Yay! Happy Pinfall Podcast Day. And by that I mean happy NXT Day, I guess. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Pinfall Podcast. I'm your host, Liz. And I'm severely disappointed. And I'm joined by my co-host Marcus, who's not severely disappointed.
Hello, I need to change the entire graphics for the stream now that NXT 2.0 is here.
Or update the other ones.
What do you mean the other ones?
Well, you said that you had like the wrong champions on like
Oh,
the main
yeah.
roster ones.
Yeah, I updated them. I also need to take Joe off of this. Um, but huge, huge show, huge changes, a lot on the horizon for NXT 2.0 now. We got a good look at the roster. This was basically like their showcase episode of like what's to come, what personalities we can see from now on, who's gonna be the top contenders now. And I think the biggest thing to note is that the women's roster isn't taking a huge change like the men's roster. The big players are
Shocker.
still gonna be the big players, from what it
It's
seems.
because they don't pay attention to the women's roster anyways. That's why women are rarely the ones that are like at least with NXT, they're rarely the ones that get cut,
Mm-hmm.
except for Mercedes. Um, and they're rarely the ones that are like have anything shaken up.
Right. Um, But we saw a new NXT champion crowned. That is Tommaso Ciampa, his second NXT championship. And out of everyone in that entire match, he was probably the best pick. Um,
Would have liked, well, I would have liked to see Kyle at least in the match.
I before the episode started, I thought about like everyone and like what their reign would be like. Kyle's reign just seemed like the most boring because he's the only pure face there. Ciampa's like a tweener, and he's the closest to being a face out of everyone else. Um, but I don't know. Kyle seems more like he would be a great champion on the main roster in the mid card. Um,
I don't understand why they have Kyle around if they've consistently given him these opportunities to um, go after the title and then consistently taken them away from him.
that's
It's
yeah.
so silly.
I've been so
It's
confused about that too.
bullshit.
They give him like this, like they never drop him down the ladder. He always stays at the top. He's always clinging, and I think that's the Adam Cole rub. After their last match, he had that rub, and he stayed at the top because of it. Um, let's see. We had one of the first ever successful weddings in WWE, if not in professional wrestling in general. And it was hilarious. It was great. It was one of the best segments WWE's done. And I know you have some gripes about Dexter talking. I did at first too.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're the one who was like, if they make Dexter talk, I'm not watching this. I know that's gonna happen the moment they get control of the show.
But after it happened, I thought about it some more, and I said to myself, they are going to do it at some point. Like they have to. Like that is a huge climax that they would have to reach. And this is probably the best they could ever do. So just be happy with that. um and Yeah, I mean everything else in the show was like not great. We saw a new Mandy Rose. Her look has now changed. Um and we are seeing that Gigi and JC are kind of the top of the women's tag division. And some new names like what was his name? Braun Breaker, formerly known as Bronson Rex Steiner, or Rex Steiner was going to be his name before they changed it. Excuse me, to Braun Breaker. Von Wagner replaced Kyle Riley in the Fatal 4-Way. We saw more of the Creed brothers. We got introduced to oh, what was her name? Ivy Nile. Is that her name? Morgan Smith said, "Where were you when NXT became the best wrestling in the planet once again?" I don't think this episode was great. This episode itself wasn't great. The last half hour was some of the best that we've seen in a while, but everything before that was not great. However, I still think there is a lot of potential for NXT to be really good moving forward. There's a lot to work on in this. Are they still calling it the CWC? Are they going to, what are they calling it now?
It's just not called the CWC anymore.
Well, in the arena, there's still a lot that's not like amazing, but I still think there's hope. Hit Row are still huge players. Legato's still huge players. They're still recognizing veterans like Ciampa. So it's not going quickly downhill.
Which means Mark is doing the NXT podcast from now on, because I don't honestly know how much more of this I can take. I did not like this at all. I thought this was literally, if Raw were 2 hours, I felt like this is what it would have been. Mm-hmm. We got talent pulling double duty in spite of the depth of the roster for no good reason, for literally no reason. That match did not play. No, that match did not play in at all during the 4-way. And Braun Breaker, yeah, he was introduced.
Well, and no, then, I think it protects LA Knight very heavily because he can go forward saying that he had to pull double duty, and so he could be the next contender, whereas Braun Breaker gets a few more wins under his belt before he's the next contender.
He could do that. I don't think that's what's going to happen. If that was what was going to happen, they would have showed LA looking weak. LA got his face sliced open and still jumped up to the top turnbuckle. Mm-hmm. There was no sign of him looking weak from that match. It didn't play in at all.
But there's no saying that they won't reference it in the future.
And if they reference it in the future, it's going to look stupid because they didn't reference it in the match that same night. And then on top of that, what was the point of having Duke and Carmelo feud brought in the way it was? Like, why didn't they just have a Duke versus Carmelo fight where, like...
They're probably going to do that. Next week will probably be Duke versus Trick Williams. The week after that will probably be Duke versus Carmelo. Because they got to give Carmelo some more wins before he can, declare a championship. Especially now that he just made a heel turn.
Duke's a heel, so I don't really know if beating up a heel is a heel turn.
Maybe not for much longer. Plus, we got to remember, Triple H and Shawn, they're still going to be booking the day-to-days. Vince and Pritchard, they're handling the big picture stuff. This is Triple H didn't do this episode. Trips wasn't here. Remember that. He wasn't here for this episode.
Okay.
And so, moving forward, he will be.
Who's saying that?
It was literally reported by Sean
Rossap.
Sean Rossap and Fightful reported that Triple H will be booking the day-to-days. Like,
right. They stated that, but then this whole episode was booked by somebody else. So how can we trust what Sean Rossap said before? Remember when that article came out?
Okay. I'm just trying to stay positive, okay? I'm trying to not completely throw out a wrestling product because of one episode.
I'm not saying that, like, I'm done with it now, I guess. It's just...
You did say that, though. You said I would have to handle the...
Yeah, I know, and NXT I can't
podcast.
say that for real right now, and I know that for a fact, so I'm not going to.
Okay. Well, do you want to get into the news before we get really in-depth on the episode?
Sure. All right. First piece of news is that I don't know. I don't know what the first piece of news is going to be. First piece of news will be that GCW filed a motion to dismiss a lawsuit from IWTV, which is alleging that GCW committed a breach of contract regarding pay-per-view events. They're basically looking for recompensation for those pay-per-view events that, yes, I don't understand legal jargon, but apparently WTV claims that they entered a contract where GCW said that they had the exclusive rights to pay-per-views, and I guess that was not the case going forward. So, they've looked to dismiss it. It looks like the damages are in excess of $500,000. And I don't know how much GCW is worth, so that could be a problem. Next piece of news is kind of sad. Jake Atlas retired from wrestling today.
Right now.
Trying to stay positive.
He says in the tweets right now, so it might not be permanently.
Right, I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to hope it's kind of like a Leo Rush.
Yeah.
Fucking names.
Do you want? I have the tweets open in front of me if you want me to.
I have the tweets too.
Okay.
He said, "I'm not concussed or banged up. I simply just can't keep going anymore. Take your mental health seriously, both for yourselves and for each other, because we only have one life to live. Thank you to anyone who did support me for 5 years. I didn't do much, but what I did was fun. I'm stepping away from wrestling completely right now, so please don't ask me to do interviews, appearances. I'd like my privacy to be respected. At 26 years old, I've got my entire life ahead of me, and I'm choosing to explore completely different industries to find my passion again. Unfortunately, it was unhealthy for me the entire time. I just learned how to hide it really well. I hope that friends and fans I've made alike continue to support me no matter what." So, I also didn't realize he was 26. So he does have quite a lot of time left. So hopefully he figures out what he wants to do.
Yeah. And hopefully he recovers from whatever he's dealing with, whether it be physical or mental. But didn't realize that us going to see him at Death Before Dishonor would be his last match.
Yeah. And it's kind of a shame that it ended the way it did, but I have to imagine that has something to do with
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
what he's talking about. And into some WWE news. Like I said, there's no more CWC. It does not exist anymore. They're dropping the name. I don't know what it's supposed to be called from now on. It's apparently simply going to be referred to as the home of NXT.
That's dumb. Call it the CWC. Why not?
I don't understand what the problem with the Capitol Wrestling Center is. They were so excited to name it the Capitol Wrestling Center. They made a huge fucking deal out of it.
Yeah, because it was traditional. It was like what it used to be called or something.
Yeah. Anyways,
Call it the fucking call it the Raw Underground.
Raw Underground. Oh no, Raw Underground was only an hour long.
I don't think it was even an hour long. It just happened in the last hour.
In theory, it spanned an hour. Also, there were some backstage details from tonight from Mr. Andrew Zarian, I believe. No. Basically, there was a weird atmosphere among the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm sure it probably all felt weird anyways going into that, but like I guess like Kevin Dunn throughout the script like a bajillion times, and it got rewritten over and over, and again it felt like a rewritten script. Because the hallmark of a rewritten script, especially in like Raw or SmackDown, is a wrestler wrestling two matches.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very much like a stick to your gut kind of thing, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently call him Paul Levesque in this article, and I don't know why. Triple H was not there. Mojo also was not there. We didn't even get a reference, the promo concerning him dropping his title, like we did with Keith when Keith dropped his title, which I thought was really kind of fucked.
Mm-hmm.
We got a vague reference to him in the match, but
yeah. Hopefully he's still taking care of backstage duties and not released entirely, because I mean, I would want somebody like him picking new recruits, especially if like he's the last line of defense from guys that Vince wants.
Yeah. Also, it helps to have a veteran backstage.
Yeah. I mean, Regal's also a veteran. Shawn and Trips, they're all veterans, but Samoa Joe most recently, and he came up in a completely different era, so that really helps a lot more.
Right. Other pieces of news, the one person I expected to see tonight and did not see was Parker Boudreaux, aka Gunnar Harland, aka Harland.
Right.
And that's it.
You know what?
He once again changed his name.
I like that better than the other two. Harland's a good name.
I prefer when they have first and last, because it's really weird when I'm doing my notes and I just like have to say their name over and over and over again. I can't like flip from anything. That's a personal problem.
Better than three names like Isaiah Swerve Scott or Ashante the Adonis. Although he's just Ashante Adonis right now.
Yeah, and also like he may as well be one, because I don't refer to him as Ashante and the Adonis, you know. Final piece of news tonight is kind of surprising news to me. Pete Dunn signed a long-term contract with the WWE. I don't know how long-term it is. Apparently Dunn's contract has been up for a minute now. Has been up since August. And he's re-signed a 3-year deal. So we have plenty of Peter Dune in our futures.
Yeah. We were worried that he was going to be, released and has been putting over Ridge Holland this entire time. But it seems like he's still going to be around in the forefront, which is good.
That's all the news I have.
Okay. I just got fucking bamboozled by a Reddit post. Somebody made a post saying NXT's Tony D'Angelo has a demon/fiend-like alter ego. And in the post it says, the Gabagool. Alright, so let's get into NXT 2.0. There is a lot to talk about. And yeah, I mean, I feel like where the rewritten script mostly came in, or was mostly noticeable, was the lack of well-produced promos. A lot of them were just them standing in front of screens, especially Ciampa and Braun Breaker in the end. And yeah, I mean, there wasn't a ton that felt super produced. So, getting right into it, we started off with a series of promos from the 4 people in the Fatal 4-Way, starting with Tommaso Ciampa. He says, one thing remains the same. Ciampa will remain Mr. NXT. Tonight, the greatest love story gets a second chapter. Pete Dunn is next. He says, I don't care how many people they put in front of me. Line them up and I'll put them down. The Bruiserweight NXT champion. Kyle's up next, and he says, "This is the opportunity we strive for. Tonight I step in the ring with the best. I'm 1 win away from a goal. Did he say 16 years in the making or 6 years? Might have been 6. It might have been how long he's been in NXT. And then LA Knight is last. He says, "It's an injury to Joe's manhood, but now 3 men are stuck in the same spot. Whose game is it? It's LA Knight's game." And then some guy walks in, turns out to be Braun Breaker. He says, "My name is Braun Breaker, and I want a chance to prove myself." And LA Knight's like, "All right, Braun, what?" Yeah, he accepts the challenge, and they have their match. And you know what? After the last promo that Braun Breaker had with Ciampa, I might really like the guy, because he seems to have like this personality that like has the guise of being very upbeat and, you know, happy-go-lucky, but then like when he was facing off with Ciampa, he like got extremely serious, and like that smile immediately went away. But that brings us to the first match, LA Knight versus Braun Breaker.
As one might imagine, I was not thrilled about this because LA Knight had a match already that night, and there are a million other men on the roster that could have fought Braun Breaker.
I mean, yeah, this probably fell into the rewrites. Maybe it was somebody like somebody that wasn't supposed to take a loss to Braun Breaker. Maybe like Von Wagner was supposed to have this match.
Um, Oh, I think that Braun could have also just been put over by a lot of other guys backstage, like Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, Cameron Grimes was definitely a really good option. Odyssey Jones, even. I feel like Odyssey Jones would maybe been the perfect guy to do it, because after his rep from the breakout tournament, he's already a big player, but he's not big enough to where he'll suffer a ton if Braun Breaker gets over on him.
Yeah. I think it was so silly that they had LA Knight. I just felt like the shit that we hate him raw.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
So there's a side headlock on Knight, which Knight fights out of only to get shoulder tackled. Under the jaw to Breaker. LA starts stomping him by the ropes. There's a neck breaker. New breaker. Gonna be annoying for me going forward. To say, I'm shackled to this product. There's an elbow to Knight, and then a shoulder tackle to Knight, and a belly to belly, and then Breaker lateral presses Knight up in the air and hits him with a big old power slam to win.
Yeah.
Again, I wouldn't have even been this mad about like this match if by the time that they were doing the 4-man match, LA like was showing like a little bit of wear and tear or something like that. But LA Knight didn't even get a fucking walkout, which I guess makes sense. We did already hear it, but still.
I have a feeling I know what the script was supposed to be. The original match, the first match, was supposed to be, this is my speculation, it was supposed to be Braun Breaker versus Kyle O'Reilly. And that's how he gets injured and out of the Fatal 4-Way, and the person they bring in to replace him is the guy who beat him, Braun Breaker. But they didn't want, I don't know if this was Kevin Dunn, I assume it wouldn't be because he's just he's a director. But somebody thought that Braun Breaker, being one of the next guys up, shouldn't be losing in a Fatal 4-Way, so they have him get over on one of the 4 guys, but not the guy who gets taken out. Which I feel like it would have made a ton more sense if they had done it the original way I just speculated. That way Braun could still be the next guy up. but still be that next guy up because he didn't take the pin. And then everyone in the match still looks good. LA Knight isn't pulling double duty. Nobody's pulling. Well, I guess Braun still would be pulling double duty, but it would make sense. He would essentially be buying his ticket in.
Okay.
Also,
right.
Drew McIntyre just tweeted, "Seeing Imperium just gave me an idea. Hey, Walter, I'm back in Europe next week on tour. You know where to find me if you want to scrap." Imagine. Just imagine.
Drew McIntyre needs to put his goddamn phone down. I'm getting fed up.
But also imagine Walter without Imperium. Like they just brought up Walter to the main roster. That would be fucked. Alright, so after that match we had Braun Breaker backstage. He's shaking hands with some other rising talent, some of which being Cal Bloom. I think Josh Briggs was also there, maybe. And they're all just congratulating him. And then we go back to the ring for Imperium versus Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. Brooks Jensen is the new talent here. We've seen Josh Briggs a couple times before. And this was a fun match. I mean, at the end of the day,
I would have enjoyed this match more if I wasn't nervous during the match.
Yeah, because they set up the precedence of any of these rising talent can beat these veterans, but it was still an enjoyable match.
Okay, so Jensen gets in first. He sends a boot to Eichner, who just fucking clotheslines him. He goes up and over Eichner's back. Hits Eichner with a big old power slam. I got something in my eye. Didn't even move. A ghost.
What?
Got something in my eye and I hadn't even moved my head.
Maybe a little piece of dust flew in your eye. One of Pete's furs.
No wonder it hurt. So Marcel gets in. There's an arm drag to Briggs. He's also in. And a clubbing blow to the back of Bartel and a headbutt and a spinebuster and a splash in the corner. A lot. There's a big old slap to Briggs' chest and then a snapmare into a kick to the face of Briggs. And Marcel does that little thing where he kind of like sticks his arms behind his back and he trots around. And I'm like, you look silly. He and Fabian set up for the tandem drop kicks in the corner to Briggs. However, once Eichner gets in, Briggs just fucking plants him. Jensen gets in off that. There's a spinebuster to Eichner. And a rib breaker? Maybe? It happened twice tonight, and I don't know what it's called.
Yeah,
It's
something like
a
that.
rib buster. How's that?
Sure.
And then another spine buster. Marcel gets back in. Briggs gets back in. There's a strike to the face of Bartel, and then Marcel is loaded out of the ring. Marcel pulls Briggs off the apron, however, and Briggs shoves... Wait. Marcel is not in. I lied to all of you. Briggs also is not in. Oh, that's an egg on my face. Marcel bops in. Illegally. As does Briggs. There's a strike to the face of Bartel. Marcel gets loaded out of the ring. And then Marcel takes his time to pull Briggs off the apron. Briggs shoves Marcel into the stairs. I didn't see Briggs do it, so all I see is Marcel, like, what in my head was him tripping into the stairs. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Doofus. Brooks does, like, the little Sheamus thing on the turnbuckle. It was a distraction for Marcel, however, it really didn't feel like a distraction because the ref didn't really seem to care. But it allowed Fabian the opportunity to jump up top and bring Brooks down in a double underhook suplex to win. Or superplex.
Right. So next we have a promo from Hit Row. Ashante says, if you're looking for the best, stop searching. This here is new money. Her name is BFAB, and the B stands for beauty. Top Dollar says, as soon as the rest of NXT saw her, it got spooky. Swerve says, we know Queen Bee is the baddest, but you think she's a bae just because of how she looks. She's the baddest on the planet. And BFAB says, we all know I can spit. Time for talking is over. And we get BFAB versus Katrina Cortez, formerly Catalina Cortez.
Okay, so BFAB tosses Cortez, there's a strike to the back of BFAB and a boot to the face. BFAB pump kicks Cortez, and then there's a weird sort of neck breaker-ish type thing to win. And that's your match. And this was where I got mad, because I was like, you better give me something more than that.
Oh, and we were given it. So after that, Hit Row get on the mic, and BFAB says, they thought that because I wasn't in the ring that I couldn't do this. Senorita Secret Sauce, you were quick to put your nose where it didn't belong. Legado del Fantasma come out. And Elektra's on the mic, and she says, Elektra Lopez is talking. I guess you didn't learn your lesson the first time, but we can do it again. This time I won't need a pipe to shut that yappy mouth of yours. BFAB says, I will love to do it again. I'm ready. We can do this right now. Santos puts his arm in front of Elektra and stops her. BFAB says, he saved your life. And then we move away from that and we go to Cameron Grimes, Odyssey Jones, and Johnny Gargano backstage. Johnny says, tonight is perfect. It's just missing one thing. And then Austin Theory walks in. It's all cheers, yay! And Johnny says, I thought you ran away. Austin says, I did, but I wasn't gonna miss Indy's wedding. I brought somebody. You can't have a wedding without a priest. Also, can we just acknowledge that Austin Theory said, I did run away?
He admitted to it.
Nobody noticed it. Then Damian Priest walks in. Johnny says, he's not a priest, it's just his name. Damian says, he's not lying, I'm just here for the party. And in the background, Austin Theory holds up his hand for the high five. Johnny says, not tonight, and hugs Austin. This was a really sweet promo. This was just for, like, fan service, I guess. But it was still great. No reason why Damian was there. He wasn't in the wedding at all. He wasn't watching. He wasn't a spectator. He just came in for the promo, grabbed a glass of champagne, and left. Which makes me think maybe he was just in town. Maybe he needed to speak to, like, Shawn Michaels or something. So then we had Carmelo Hayes alongside Trick Williams. They come out to the ring. Carmelo says, 3 weeks ago I won the NXT Breakout Tournament. I've got the juice now, but now I have a target on my back. Moving forward is NXT 2.0. When I look around, I realize this is just a numbers game. And he introduces Trick Williams, and Trick says, oh, I'm about it. And Carmelo says, as long as I have this, meaning the portfolio contract, whatever, wherever I go, Trick goes. Whenever I eat, Trick eats. Whenever I get put on, Trick gets put on. And then they're in the ring with interviewer named Sam, and Trick says, Sam, I'm here for 2 reasons. I was born with the gift of the gab and the jab. I'm proud of you, man. You are the golden child of NXT. But I have a bone to pick with you. You've always been known to walk your walk and talk your talk. When you shoot, you don't miss. Do we look humble? He opens up his shirt and shows off his abs. Carmelo says, you're right, Trick. No more holding back. Now that I have this opportunity, this is a guaranteed championship, which makes me think he's not winning it. I am the chosen one, so when Melo shoots, I don't miss. And if I choose to pass it, then Trick is gonna receive it. Trick says that's all it is, and that's all it's gonna be. Duke Hudson comes out. he like whispers something to Carmel that I didn't really notice. I didn't pick up on it. Like he said something, I just didn't hear it. And Carmel says this stops today. Oh no, Trick says this stops today. He gives a boot to Duke. They both gang up on him, kick him while he's down, and then Carmel gives what I could only describe as a springboard sling blade to Duke.
Crazy.
And then yeah, I mean the fact that they made him do a heel turn so suddenly makes me think that he is no longer a top player in the title scene. Like he's not gonna win a title. Although
I feel like he is like NXT's new Adam Cole. Oh.
Yeah, 100%. Which is I'm glad that his quote unquote replacement is somebody who is really good. Like he is great on the mic, great in the ring, everything.
Charismatic as fuck.
Oh yeah.
The dude smiles and I'm like, anything you say, Carmelo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Trick is not bad looking himself, so.
Yeah, Trick just needs to slow down when he's talking because I could barely understand what he was saying.
Trick also needs to slow down in his character progression because, like, I was introduced to him today and then he, like, attacked somebody and I was like, I don't even know you yet.
Yeah.
And you're doing all this.
Mm-hmm. So then we had a promo with Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. JC says, Mandy Rose, you look amazing. They're talking to Mandy Rose, who's like out of frame. Gigi says, that old you, that wasn't the real you. JC says, new NXT, new Mandy Rose. Gigi says, let's do this. And so they're teasing a new look for Mandy Rose. Right before Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter versus Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. They gotta give some of these fucking women tag teams and like names. Like, come on, give Casey and Kaden a fucking name that's not Spitfire Warriors. Like, I'm tired of saying their names.
I'm also kind of confused as to how they let JC Jane be JC Jane when we got Casey. Today we had JC and Casey fighting each other, and it's like,
yeah. But they called her Jane in the ring, or from commentary. Maybe they should just call her Jane. Jane J. Jane J is cool. That sounds like
J. Jonah
JJ
Jameson?
though. What?
J. Jonah Jameson?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, are they called the
Her
American?
gimmick is just demanding pics of Spider-Man.
Miriam suggested that Casey and Kaden are called the American Ninjas. Last I heard, they were called the Spitfire Warriors. I think if you look up their song on Spotify, it says Spitfire Warriors. That's where I've been getting it from. But American Ninjas might be more recent.
That also makes sense, I guess, because of Casey.
But now, what are they? The TikTok tag team or some shit?
Something like that. They were called something to that effect. I think last episode, and I was like,
it was like NXT's TikTok tag team.
Yeah.
Triple T. Oh no, quadruple T.
I hate that, like, I've tried twice now to, like, really push TikTok.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just, like, listening to, like, my mother ask me about, like, social media. Like, have you heard of this TikTok thing?
I mean, it's fucking marketing. It's them.
Or should we start making TikToks?
Maybe. UPF TikToks?
Yeah, we can all learn, like, choreographed dances.
Yeah. We'll introduce someone new as the TikTok trainer.
POV.
Huh?
Like those POV ones where it's like,
yeah.
POV, you're a Pokemon and Dom Pokemon is yelling at you. Losing.
Alright, let's just do the match.
I'm gonna eventually knock over this, by the way. Just so you know.
Also, real quick, I feel like Gigi and JC would be the perfect tag team to get a name, you know? Like, because they have a shared gimmick. it seems like they have shared gear and everything. Like they have a whole look. They have a manager.
Is their gear similar today?
Yeah, they JC was closer to Gigi's like dominatrix look.
Gigi still isn't working for me, and I don't know why.
I think they just need to give her more promos. She's great in the ring.
Yeah. Okay, so my apologies in advance. This match frustrated me as it was, but the match after wasn't bad, and I just took horrible notes, so. So we start with Gigi and Kaden. There's a ground and pound. You gotta have one. Casey keeps JC out of the ring. Kaden splashes Dolan in the corner and then drop kicks her. Casey gets in with like a scorpion kick to the back of Gigi. Casey Jane gets in. She kicks the legs, or Casey kicks the legs of Jane. Sends a boot to her face. Carter gets in. There's a neck breaker lined up. Casey goes up top and like the intention of like coming down onto Jane. But Mandy Rose is back and better than ever, and pulls Casey off the buckles to DQ the match. But it doesn't really matter because then there's another match.
Yeah, Mandy reveals herself to now be brunette. And you know what? It looks good on her.
It's not a bad look.
Yeah. She is very lucky that she can look really good blonde and brunette.
But I could.
I mean, you've done both looks, haven't you? Or at least close to a blonde.
Actually, I have.
Alright, so then we have, we run this back as Casey, Kaden, and Saray versus Gigi, JC, and Mandy. And
this was another thing that Go on.
I was gonna say, and this was a very fun match.
This was a good match in terms of action and longevity and all that shit. My only thing really is that this is another hallmark of ripped up scripts, which is part 2 of a match made during a commercial break.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that we were gonna, like, typical NXT, I think what they would have done is next week we would have gotten the 6-man tag.
Right, and that's one of those things that you could chalk up to Triple H not being there. And this,
where is Sean then? What is Sean's role?
I feel like
if Trips isn't there, does Sean not come in?
Sean might handle more talent relations. Trips might handle more booking. So I'm still staying hopeful, staying optimistic. But we'll see.
Anywho. So, yeah, also Saray comes in, that's what makes it a 6-man tag. I don't know if you said that.
Mm-hmm.
So to start, we've got Saray with a missile dropkick to Dolan and a Fisher woman suplex, as Wade put it. I was like, I've never heard that said, but I like it. Thanks, Wade.
Wait, what was it?
A Fisher woman suplex instead of a fisherman suplex.
Okay.
He's Kaden takes Gigi down. Casey flips onto her. Mandy is then shoving Casey into the ropes. Gigi gets in. So also another thing that's fucked me up, and this is not NXT 2.0's fault. Casey and Kaden were supposed to be heels.
Right.
So I was really confused. My brain was like not catching up with anything. So when Mandy was like shoving Casey's like neck into the ropes, I was like, are you supposed to be together?
Hey. I mean, it's what you've been wanting, kind of the face and heel lines fading a little bit, blurring.
Yes. And not when Saray is on your tag team. Saray is a babyface.
She is the epitome of babyface in NXT.
Like, I think I wouldn't have been as confused if Saray was not there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so Gigi gets in. He rakes, or kind of like, I don't know, like Bane masks Casey. I can compare it to. and JC kicks her in the face. Mandy gets back in. There's a spinebuster to Casey and some body scissors applied. Ends up hitting Casey with a fallaway slam. JC gets back in, hits a seated senton onto Casey. Mandy gets in. Carter gets in. There's just like clubbing blows to Mandy, and a drop kick. JC gets in the ring. JC gets in the fucking ring, and Mandy gets thrown into JC and lays down on the ground, and Carter hits the same fucking thing that she always hits with the drop kick, and then falling onto the person below. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's just coincidental that this always happens and always lines up so perfectly for her. I get it, wrestling's not real, but like also Jesus Christ. The match fucking breaks down at this point, okay? It's everyone's fighting everyone in that like kind of like turn-based thing that they do with these kinds of tag matches. Eventually we get a knee under the jaw of Kaden or Gigi technically for Mandy, but for Mandy, Gigi, and JC to win.
Yes. Yeah, and I was like a little surprised by that.
I was kind of too. It was just like one of those things where like I was trying so hard to like keep up, but the moment something like I could like see and was like about to type happen, something else would happen. I get distracted. I'd forget the last thing that happened. It was like the constant vicious cycle. And I was like, well, you know what? Fucking, I don't care. That makes me mad sometimes when I'm taking notes because like then I really don't know if that match was good or not. Because in my eyes it was shitty because I did not keep up with it.
That's why I'm happy I don't take notes during matches.
Maybe I should just like screen record it and like watch it back while we talk about it, and I can give live updates.
Or don't take notes on every big thing that happens. Just take notes on the big beats and the finish.
I don't. Oh, well, see, I take notes on all of like the moves. I don't take notes on like little shit. Like lockups and stuff I used to take notes on, but I don't.
You probably don't have to do all the moves.
I probably don't have to do anything, but I'm still gonna do it.
Whatever.
I don't have to do this. I'm still going to.
And I thought about it, and as long as NXT continues to focus on matches and making good matches and not watering down wrestlers' gimmicks, then I think they will always be in better shape than the main roster. Because, I mean, you always hear complaints about them watering down people's gimmicks once they make it to the main roster. Like Karrion Kross, for example. Just let the wrestlers embrace their personas, their gimmicks. Let them do all of that. Keep unique personalities. And just put on great matches. And that's really all you need. Alright. So, after that, we had Indy Hartwell in her bridal suite. Cora Jade is in there along with, I forget her new name, but Steph DeLander is also there. With Candice.
Cora Jade.
Yeah, Cora Jade.
Oh, wait. Whose name did you forget?
Steph DeLander. It's like Precious. Was it?
Persia Perota.
Persia Perota. Okay.
It always makes me feel like I think of Deonna Purrazzo when I say it.
Okay.
Deonna Purrazzo was like a cat.
But Cora Jade is complaining about something, and Candice snaps her saying, maybe don't wear that hat at the wedding then. And she's like, everything's great, guys. Everything's great. Everything's fine. Then we go to an interview with William Regal. He says that Kyle O'Reilly, after the attack from Pete Dunne and Rich Holland, can no longer participate. Instead, the man taking Kyle's place will be Von Wagner, the man that saved him. Yep. And then we get Ridge Holland versus Drake Maverick.
Yes. Yes, we do. We get a second rib breaker, or whatever I called it the first time. To Drake. Ridge then just kind of swats Drake as like he starts to mount a little bit of offense. Ends up just flattening the little dude. That's all I can tell you. It's so weird. Drake Maverick's like so like on top of his shit on Raw. And then NXT Drake is just like I did like that he still had Grayson in his corner.
Yeah.
I thought that was sweet.
They're still pals.
Yeah.
Oh, did you finish the match?
Oh, yeah, no, that match lasted like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Alright.
I'm just reading in a post from PW Insider talking about Samoa Joe's title relinquishing, and that it's a medical call rather than a creative decision. Apparently, PW Insider said that we're told the decision was not a creative one, but what was stated, WWE Medical made the calls, so the decision was made to strip Joe and crown a new champion tonight, trying to turn a negative into a positive by having the coronation of the next WWE NXT champion as part of the 2.0 broadcast. There was a lot of trepidation among NXT talents going into tonight's taping. There had already been a lot of stress and concern among talents after the last batch of releases, since the feeling among many is that talents who did, quote, everything they were supposed to and or were great talents were released, leaving some of those who remained that PW Insider spoken to feeling as if everyone was now on thin ice, and that if they did the right thing, it didn't matter, and their runs could be over at any point with no notice. It was always true, but there had previously been a feeling that they were in a protective cocoon thanks to Triple H, but that feeling was ripped away. And then they talk about Triple H not being at today's taping due to his recent due to his recent medical emergency. And then that caused a lot of talent to be unsure what they were walking into today. But yeah, so Triple H not being there was a medical concern. Samoa Joe relinquishing the title, 100% a medical concern. And those are the takeaways from that. And I heard some people saying that maybe it could just be his history of concussions coming back and, aggravating again.
I hope it's not. In a weird way, I hope it's literally anything but that.
Yeah.
Because just came back. Yeah,
maybe they were very hopeful. Because something might have arisen during his match with Karrion, but they were waiting to say anything about it further down the line after all these tapings had aired, because maybe they could have moved past it, or Joe could have recovered. But if it's still not at that point, then maybe something worse has happened. Or it's something very concerning being brought up. Hopefully it's not. But going back to the episode, after that match, we had an interview with Tommaso Ciampa. He says, define NXT 2.0. Apparently it's chaos. It's young athletes shooting their shot. I've been there. It's not about them. It's the reason we're all here. Think about that NXT title. Think Tommaso Ciampa. It's been 908 days. 908 days, and tonight I get my redemption. And then we get some guy just walking on the street. He says, my family has interest in waste management. I found success in my own way. I was named All-American. My family smartened me up. There's no real money to be made in amateur wrestling. Real money is made in NXT. No, it's not. But
somebody's gonna have to tell him.
And then his name was revealed to be Tony D'Angelo. And my interest is piqued because he seems to be like an interesting character, or at least interesting to watch. Kind of in the same way LA Knight is. You know, just like over the top. And wrestling needs more over the top characters. That's something NXT is needed more of, especially now. Alright, so then we had the Creed brothers versus Dan Jarmon and Trevor Skell. Or Dan Harmon. Hope it's not Dan Harmon.
So, I figured out the name of the Creed brothers. Got that right this time.
There you go.
Did not figure out the name of the men in time. So
the darker,
it's man 1 and man 2.
The darker one is Julius, right?
Darker haired guy is Julius, yes.
Okay. Got that right then.
The one that looks like it looks like a kid we went to college with, and I don't want to drop his name because A, I don't remember his name, and 2, I feel like that's weird. But we worked with him on a couple of film projects. He's kind of like a goofy dude. He's friends with there's no way for me to say it without saying other people's names, so I feel weird about that. But
after.
Yeah, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about when I say it.
Okay.
Anyways, that was something that like struck me today, and I was like, oh, huh. So the Creed brothers. We start with Brutus and man number 1, and by that I mean man in the pants. There was a gator roll into a front face lock. There's elbows to Brutus. Brutus clotheslines the man from the ring. Man number 2, Trunks man, tries to kick Brutus. His legs swept from the apron. Julius then bops him for a little second. They each grab a man and slam them together in like a little sandwich. We get a gut wrench to man number 1. Julius gets in and suplexes man number 1. He makes the tag. He makes the tag for man number 1 to man number 2. So Pants Man tags out because Julius like lifts his limp ass arm and just slaps the other guy. Mm-hmm. It's like kind of a funny little thing.
I'm starting to like these Creed brothers a lot more with every match.
Big shoes to fill. So there's a clubbing blow to the face of Julius and a drop kick. Julius just throws the guy into the ropes, and on the rebound hits him with like what I can only call a Death Valley driver, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. And then clotheslines him, rolls him up into a small package to win. A good few squash matches today.
Yeah. And there was only like 1 or 2 that were like pretty lame squash matches. The rest were pretty decent. So then Diamond Mine gets in the ring. Malcolm Bivens gets on the mic, and he says, "The Creed brothers proved they will destroy any human being with 2 legs. You'll walk in this ring, but you'll be carried out. Allow me to introduce to you the newest member of Diamond Mine, Ivy Nile. She looks very frightening, while also being very short. She had a chain around her neck. She looked badass. Jacked as hell. Bivens says no one is more determined, no one works harder, and he asks her to flex for him, or flex for the audience, rather. She flexes, and he said this woman hasn't had a carb since 2005. She was also the star of NBC's, what was the show, Titan Games? Was that what he said? Okay. She exemplifies what Diamond Mine is about. Now, she has big shoes to fill with Marina Shafir, who was supposed to be Diamond Mine's female member. But then Kushida comes out. He says, you talk too much. I'm ready." And then Roddy kind of steps up, and Malcolm Bivens says, "Next week, Kushida versus Roderick Strong, NXT Cruiserweight Championship, big money fight." I wish there was a way to do it to where every match that Diamond Mine was in an octagon. I wish they could do that. That'd be so fun. Or at least everyone Roddy's in. So then we get Dexter Lumis combing his mustache backstage to prepare for the wedding. And then we have the co-main event, Pete Dunne versus LA Knight versus Tommaso Ciampa versus Von Wagner for the NXT Championship. And this match rocked. This was great.
This was a lot. It starts off as a melee. Ciampa shoves Von Wagner. Von Wagner punches Pete. Knight takes Pete off the apron, hits Tommaso with a spinebuster before an uppercut to Von. Von gets an uppercut and a big back to belly. Pete then stomps on Von's arm, like literally like Shayna Baszler, but like stiff.
Yeah, you could see exactly where he hit too, because there was no Kevin Dunn pulling the strings in terms of directing. He hit right up here by like the joint of the shoulder, and you could just see Von Wagner's shoulder like cave in with the stomp. It was really well done. And he wasn't injured or anything because he was moving pretty damn well.
It was just, I hated it. Mm-hmm. I had a Shayna Baszler moment where I was like, is he allowed to do this? So Pete and Tommaso start brawling. He fails the elbow stomp a second time. Ciampa ends up escaping it. Ciampa gets snapmare, not a snackmare. Yeah. It's a snapmare to Pete, starts clubbing his chest. LA interferes, gets loaded out of the ring. There's a deep clothesline to Ciampa and an enziguri to Von, and a deep arm drag to Pete. Finally, we get like a flatliner of sorts to LA from Von Wagner. LA is in the ring with Tommaso, has a headlock on him post-commercial break. There's knees to Pete from Tommaso, and then Ciampa starts chopping both men. Dunn lifts a foot, ends up enziguriing LA instead of Tommaso, because Tommaso dodges it. There's a double clothesline after a series of clotheslines, because Tommaso does that little thing that he does where he like kind of skips to my Lou, like in alternating corners. He attempts to hit a fairy tale ending, fails to do that on Von Wagner, who lifts and drops Tommaso. Pete stomps on Von Wagner's fingers right after that, kicks Tommaso in the head. We get a hefty DDT from LA to Pete, where I don't really know if there was much room for for Pete to not have landed on like his entire head.
It wasn't even like a typical DDT either. It wasn't like arm around the neck on top. I don't know how to describe it. I don't remember exactly how it went.
I don't know.
But yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah. We get a Willow's Bell Tune from Tommaso, but no pin. Tommaso then dives out onto the field of men, and we think at that point that's when LA Knight smacked his face open.
Yeah.
There's a pump knee to the jaw of Dunn from Tommaso. He wanted the fairy tale ending, but Dunn wiggled free. He goes to like snap the fingers of Tommaso. It's the bitter end, but he can't cover, which protects the move. I really thought that they were going to bury that finisher. I was like,
yeah.
LA loads him out. Wagner flattens LA into the mat. This is when we noticed LA's entire side of the face was just covered in blood.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Daniels.
Didn't realize that that arena could have used more color, but it did.
It was just adding to the splatter paint effect. I told you.
Well, luckily, a medical professional was looking at him during the match, but you know something's happened when it's during the match.
Yeah. When you see somebody like just like leaning against the ropes, like fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Tommaso and Pete get some clubbing blows to Von Wagner in tandem. Pete and LA start exchanging blows, and there's a big German suplex to Tommaso. LA doesn't miss a beat. He's literally like he's on the ground getting medical treatment, and then 5 seconds later he jumps up to the top buckle and superplexes Pete, and I was like,
Now do you see why I love LA Knight so much?
No, but I thought this was cool.
Dude's
We
a
get
great
a cool little
worker.
underhook.
Sorry.
We get a cool little underhook to LA from Von Wagner. Also then kicks him out of the way and hits LA with the fairy tale ending to win and to win the belt. Yada yada yada.
Goldie has come back home to daddy. And I am very much looking forward to this because, I mean, Ciampa's first NXT title run was like legendary. And Ciampa is fantastic on the mic, so I can only imagine what we'll get out of this. He's probably the closest on the roster to having Samoa Joe still as champ. So, it's exciting. Alright, and then we have our final segment of the episode. We have the Index wedding. And I like was so into it in the beginning that I didn't take notes at all, so I'm gonna try and remember this all from memory. But Indy's already in the ring with the she's not? Oh no. Dexter is. That's right. Dexter's already
As weddings often do.
right. Dexter's already standing in the front. Whole crowd's there. And then Indy walks in with Johnny on her arm. It's very sweet. And he's like asked about if he's giving up Indy, or sorry, I'm like trying to remember this all from memory. The minister says, who's giving up Indy Hartwell or giving up the bride? Johnny says, I, Johnny Gargano, Triple Crown champion, 2-time NXT champion, yada yada yada. I don't even know if he's 2-time NXT champion, but I think he might have said 2-time North American champion. And then he sits down after like refusing to let go of Indy. And then he asks Austin if he has the rings, and Austin says, we're already in a ring, silly. And everyone's yelling at him, no, do you have the rings? He's like, And then Ikemenjiro stands up, flashes the audience by opening his jacket, and reveals the box of the rings. Hands it over. And then the minister, this is what I have notes on, then asks who should object. And everyone raises their hands. And then Dexter opens his jacket to show an axe to everyone. And then everyone lowers their hands. But before this, the minister was saying their names, and they revealed that Dexter's middle name is Gaylord. And you could tell that was a Pritchard or Vince thing. He was probably cackling while watching it, if he was watching it.
He probably wasn't. He's probably like the kind of person that like just sets the house on fire and walks away.
No, I feel like since this is like a big thing, like this was a big episode, he might have been watching it. At least Pritchard was. So the minister asks him to share their vows. Indy says, Dexter, Gaylord, Loomis, you're misunderstood. While many see you as a creep, I see you as my cuddly teddy bear. Some people see you as a stalker. I see a caring man with a well-groomed mustache. I find it sweet that you're always following me. When they call you a freak, I say, damn right he's a freak. Dexter is my freak. I'll always remember that one time you snuck into my bed late at night when Johnny and Candace and Dexter covers her mic. And then Johnny's like, wait, what? When were you over? Indy continues saying, Dexter, you never lose a staring contest. You understand me and I understand you. I can't wait to spend the rest of our lives together. I love you. Dexter is asked to share his vows. He just gives thumbs up. And then the minister says, a thumbs up. This is your beautiful bride, and she just poured her heart out to you. It's probably just nerves. And Dexter gives the silence to the minister. And everyone's like, oh no, what do we do? What do we do? And then everyone looks at William Regal to marry them. And he's like, no, thank you. Beth Phoenix steps in and she says, hi. I was afraid something like this would happen, so I got ordained as a minister last night. So why don't we cut to the chase? And then you just hear, did somebody say Andre Chase? He stands up. He says, I think this is a very teachable moment. And then Odyssey Jones like grabs him by the neck and just pushes him into his seat.
Just what part of that is a teachable moment, Andre? Also, okay. Andre Chase, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's this old clip from Project Runway that my sister and I used to be really into, with Tim Gunn just walking around, like, he was always asking, like, where this one guy was, and his name was Andre, but he always asked it in, like, this, like, not intentionally, but funny voice, because he has a funny voice to begin with. And one of the contestants was making fun of him in, like, the, like, one-on-one videos, and he's like, where's Andre? My sister and I used to make fun of that all the time, so whenever I hear Andre Chase, I'm just like, where's Andre? Sorry, that's my 2 cents.
So then Beth asks Johnny, can we get the rings? Indy Hartwell, do you take Dexter to be your wedded husband through sickness and in health? She says, I do. Says Dexter, or Indy, oh no. Do you, Dexter Loomis, take Indy Hartwell to be your wedded wife? He gets close. Everyone's like anticipating what he does. But the crowd throws up thumbs up. I love how much the crowd was into this. The whole crowd throws up thumbs up. Dexter gets in close to the mic. Says, I. Everyone's like waiting with bated breath. Do. And then Beth says, I now pronounce you husband and wife. They kiss. And they go on their merry way as husband and wife until one of them is drafted to the main roster. And then we see what was that?
I was just gonna say, I had this validated by other people today. I cannot tell if they're actually in a relationship or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's so confusing to me. Indy looked like she was like getting choked up during like the ceremony, and like maybe they're just like really single and like ready to mingle.
Maybe just they're very single and very into each other.
Maybe they're just
pals,
friends,
just hanging out.
It's like when like a tabloid sees like 2 girls that are definitely dating hang out, and they're just like, it's just gals being pals. That's what this is. Also,
Beth Phoenix changed her name on Twitter to Reverend Betty and tweeted, I also do funerals and exorcisms. Beth Phoenix
Betty could exercise me any day of the week.
Oh god, she's so good. And then we see Tommaso Ciampa backstage watching the wedding unfold from a TV. Braun Breaker walks in and says, congratulations, Ciampa. And Ciampa says, and congratulations on your first win on NXT 2.0. And then Braun drops his smile and gives a nasty stare down. And that's going to be awesome. hate the name though. Braun Breaker is a horrible name. It's so corny. Like, either give them like silly ass names or just normal names, you know? Like Dexter Loomis, that's a fantastic name. Yeah. So, that's the episode. That is NXT 2.0, the first chapter. And I think Marion mentioned what you mentioned before about Google searching Braun Breaker, and you get results for Braun Breaker coffee machines.
Marion was the one that said that to me. Oh. Before I look like I'm stealing jokes.
Alright, so do you want to get into the best of the night?
No, I guess we could get into the best of the night.
There's no contest. Promo of the night is the Index Wedding. It's probably segment of the year. I've never laughed harder at a promo. Alright, so Wrestler of the Night. I know who I want to pick. Do you know who you want to pick?
Oh.
I maybe have two choices if you want me to say both of them.
Okay.
So my first pick, I'll do it in order. My first pick is Julius Creed, because the Creed brothers' ring work has been insane, and Julius showed off a lot more of his personality than Brutus did. But getting the sense of Julius's personality was awesome. He's got a great vibe, incredible in the ring, and the way he used his opponent's hand to tag in the other guy, that was so good. These guys, especially Julius, are incredible. And then the other one I picked is Tommaso Ciampa, because I mean his ring work is always incredible. The dude is an insane worker, and I mean I was torn between him and LA Knight, mostly because of the nasty bump that LA Knight took and then just jumped right back in. But I think I want to go with Ciampa over LA Knight, but I'll still keep LA Knight in the consideration. Who are you picking? Yep. I mean, this is still technically matches and promos. Just the bests of the matches and promos. So, are you not answering until you get the sign up? Is that what we've come to? Okay.
I don't know.
Really? You had all that time? Is there any you want to eliminate from those three?
Between Julius and LA and Tommaso?
Yes.
I think I'd go with Julius. I liked him a lot.
When you said I thought I'm gonna go with him, I thought you meant that you're gonna eliminate him.
Oh.
Okay, I can go with Julius.
Give it to the young gun.
Hopefully Diamond Mine plays a bigger role in the future so that these guys can really shine.
I'm getting nervous about Roddy's role in it. I'm gonna be honest with you.
He's a singles guy.
Well, Kushida did just call him out, so.
Yeah, he's the singles guy. Creed Brothers are the other tag team, and then Ivy Nile's the women's lady. The women's lady.
Being sensitive.
Alright, so let's do match of the night, going from worst to best, in order, starting with 3 out of 10, Casey and Kaden versus Gigi and JC, the first one. Yeah, this was, it never really took off and was ended in a DQ. Pretty lame. But it did lead to the next one, which was a lot of fun. But this one was just okay. Next up, 4 out of 10. Rich Holland versus Drake Maverick. It was a squash match, yeah. We saw some good offense from Ridge, and it's fine. Fine. It worked. Did what it needed to do. That was it. So up next we have another 4 out of 10. B-Fab versus Katrina Cortez. Again, did what it needed to. B-Fab had her first match. Looked good, and that was it. Next up, 5 out of 10. Brutus Creed and Julius Creed versus Dan Jarmon and Trevor Skell. Creed brothers looked great, but it was still a squash match. Had it been more even, it would have been ranked a lot higher because the Creed brothers really showed themselves off and performed very well. Next up, another 5 out of 10. Imperium versus Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. It was decent. It was pretty fun. Imperium just being Imperium, and the new guy is looking pretty decent. Yeah, it's good. Next up, with a 5 out of 10, LA Knight versus Braun Breaker. It was a decent match between these guys. Don't know if the right guy won, but you know, can't really change that. It was a decent enough match. Yeah, I guess that's all I can really say about it. I keep forgetting. Thank you, Mary, for reminding me. If you have a question for us in our question segment, please leave it in the chat now, and we'll get to it after the bests of the night. If you're watching on YouTube, leave in the comments, and we'll get to it in the next episode. Alright, so up next, with a 6 out of 10, Casey, Kaden, and Saray versus Gigi, JC, and Mandy. This was a lot of fun. Some great ring work from everyone here. No one really slouched. Everyone pulled their own stuff. But yeah, it was kind of chaotic and not much story stuff happened, but it was still fun. A lot of fun. Alright, and finally, my pick for match of the night with a 7 out of 10. Pete Dunne versus LA Knight versus Tommaso Ciampa versus Von Wagner for the NXT Championship. This was a great match. Really great. Yeah? What's that? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I agree.
You agree? Yeah, I think they did the best that they could have with this match. Maybe had to go a little longer. Yeah. So, those are our picks for best of the night. Promo of the night, Index Wedding. Wrestler of the night, Julius Creed. Match of the night, Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Championship. Alright. You want to answer a question or two? Alright, so Miriam asked in chat, if you had to pick a tag team partner for yourselves from any of the new people who debuted tonight, who would you choose? Ooh. I think there's only one answer. Oh, no, there's a couple. I'd pick Von Wagner. He's fucking tough. Like, I was torn between him and Braun Breaker, but Braun Breaker looks like he would stab you in the back. Von Wagner is at least proven to be a good friend because he saved Kyle O'Reilly.
What is
going on?
back of our cat's neck is like rusty.
What?
Rusty?
Rusty?
Yeah.
It might have been when I dropped some of her cat food on her, because that was where it landed, on the back of her neck. I tried to wipe it off as much as I could.
You might want to try to do something about that with those pet wipes.
Mm-hmm.
She's never gonna reach that.
Yeah, I know.
So I feel like if we're talking in WWE terms, I have one answer, which is a good answer all the same, which would be Ivy Nile. But If I were allowed to choose a man, I'd probably choose Von Wagner. I just think he's neat.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the questions we have. Before you close out, Liz, tomorrow after Dynamite, we'll be doing our WWE 2K20 Universe Mode stream, Battle of the Brands, PCW versus SDW. You won't want to miss it. We are 2 weeks out from Extreme Rules, or not Extreme Rules, wow. Hell in a Cell for us. Extreme Rules for the real guys. So you won't want to miss it. This is going to be huge. It's going to be big. Won't last as long, ideally. But it'll be a ton of fun. We get to hang out, drink some beer, and talk about Dynamite while fantasy booking some stuff.
Talk shit.
Yeah, talk some shit. Taking names.
Talk shit, Pete. Talk
and
shit.
you might see the cat.
You.
It's the more casual of our shows. So, Liz, would you like to close out?
If you want to see us talk shit about our cat, tune in tomorrow. Just kidding. We'll probably just say that we love her. If you tuned in today, thank you. If you tune in the future, thank you. Please leave us a question. Please enjoy Yom Kippur. And if you're not Jewish, but you know someone who's Jewish, tell them to have a happy Yom Kippur. Tune in on Friday. Our Friday Night SmackDown show, where we'll talk about Friday Night SmackDown.
But first, join us tomorrow after Dynamite.
Right. You brought that up, so I felt like I just had to jump forward.
Alright, thank you all so much for watching. Follow and subscribe on YouTube and on Twitch. Our YouTube is the Pinfall Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the live show, twitch.tv/the Pinfall Podcast. Our Twitter is at Pinfall Podcast. I'm at the Mark Cameron. Liz is at Eliza23. And for tomorrow's stream, that will be happening here at twitch.tv/the Pinfall Podcast, or later going on YouTube, the Pinfall Podcast. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for WWE 2K20 SDW versus PCW.